From time to time, every family probably has to face the prospect of having a difficult conversation. But before the difficult conversation, very often there's no conversation. I know of one farming family where the father and the son are farming together, but they haven't spoken a word to each other for over a year. And the person who has to mediate between them is the farmer's wife. And it really is difficult for them to face up to the fact that one of them may not be totally right or wrong, because the reason that they won't speak to each other is they both think they're right. And it's really tough to get that, to break that barrier and get them to start talking. I can give you one example of very difficult conversations which have taken place recently, where a family were farming together, and the son was quite convinced that he was able to take over the farm completely when his father retired. His father believed that he couldn't retire and he would carry on regardless forever. He wouldn't move out of the farmhouse. He was absolutely sure that the son was not capable of taking over. And that was the reason that they were totally at loggerheads. They just could not break that barrier to try and start talking. So it's important, I think, for them to, first of all, look back at when things were going well. And very often, usually in fact, people can talk about how things were years ago when it was working properly. And then to just get some sort of niche conversation going where there is common ground. And then they can start to perhaps think about when it started going wrong and why there was such a divergence of opinion. The important thing here is to try and get some trust between the two of them, to break that barrier and for them to start seeing the point of view of the other person. I think for difficult conversations, the best environment is probably the home. Familiar surroundings are absolutely essential for everybody, and then I think then you can start relating it to where we are at the moment, what's happening now. Here we are, let's have a coffee, let's talk about what's happening, let's think about, is there anything we need to be doing differently as a family? Can we start addressing any issues which you, the other party, might think are important? And then it could come round to talking about leaving a will, power of attorney, all these sorts of things which sometimes people are very hesitant to talk about. But you can just introduce these subjects gradually, I think. Very often you can find a trigger point which will initiate that conversation. And sometimes that is investment. We need to spend £50,000 on a new tractor. No, you don't. We don't need a new tractor. That sort of thing can then trigger a really useful debate. Investment in diversification is a big issue because sometimes you're talking six figures in terms of providing some sort of diversification opportunity. And that's, to some people, that's a really big hurdle, particularly if the farm's not doing well. I mean, if it's not making a huge profits, where are you going to get £100,000 for a diversification project? That can be then a trigger to, well, let's think about how we're going to do this. Are we going to do it in stages, or are we going to forget it? But at least we have that conversation. If things start going wrong or getting very difficult, or if people start getting polarized in their views, that's the time to call a halt and say, well, let's accept what we've said. Let's go away and think about it. Let's try and perceive what the other person's view is and how is the other person feeling about this, and let's come back together at some future date. But it's really difficult sometimes to get people to think about how is the other person feeling. Are they feeling anxious about it? Do they want some settlement, some calmness for the future, where they can work together, where we can actually be friends again?